For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. We're supposed to see 3 to 7 inches of snow in our area today. More snow is anticipated the further south you go. The National Weather Service says roads will be slippery as the accumulations continue through the overnight hours. The area can expect another round of snowy conditions Friday night into Saturday. With freezing temperatures across the state, AAA is warning Wisconsin residents that letting their cars sit idle to warm up isn't actually a good idea. AAA officials say driving normally and avoiding hard acceleration will warm up car engines faster while also reducing wear and tear and exhaust emissions. They're also reminding residents that before they hit the road, it's a good idea to take safety precautions. Drivers should have an emergency kit with warm clothing in the car and keep their fuel tank as high as they can to prevent freezing. The city of Green Bay will receive over $3.9 million to replace 3 buses in its transit system. The money comes from fines collected from Volkswagen for cheating on emissions tests in the 2010s. The new buses will replace old, energy-inefficient buses using the funding from the State of Wisconsin Transit Capital Assistance Grant Program. The program is funded through a court settlement resulting from Volkswagen violating the Federal Clean Air Act. Janesville, Wausau, and Beloit will share in the $11.8 million in grants announced this week. WGBW has an e-newsletter that comes out twice a week, and it is filled with stories you care about from the greater Green Bay area. Subscribe today at WGBW.FM. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
Marquette ends their losing streak. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Marquette with a victory last night over DePaul, 68-58 in Milwaukee. The Golden Eagles have struggled from behind the three-point line. I asked Marquette's Stevie Mitchell on why it's been that way most of the season.
That's just how the game goes. I think, there's players, teams that can shoot the ball poorly and then, shoot the ball really well on any given night. So, we're really proud of the win today because we shot the ball poorly and we're able to win ugly. And I think that's something we struggled to do the past 3 games, when it got rough, when it got hard. We weren't resilient like we were today in terms of just, finding a way to win anyway, not getting caught up in, our missed shots, not getting caught up in, things that we really can't control and just doubling down on all things we can control.
NBA, it's the Bucks and the Timberwolves tonight in Minnesota. Their last game heading into the All-Star break this weekend. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A winter weather advisory continues for an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow, otherwise cloudy tonight and a low near 10. Then a clearing sky for tomorrow, high into the upper teens. Then snow chances return on Friday, accumulations likely again. Currently it's 17 degrees.
Mino and the Mayor.
Well, I think everybody's been there because he was sitting there for the longest time. So I just gave him a little beep, and it was green.
Yeah.
I could see he was vaping. It was meant on his vaping thing. And then all of a sudden, he rolls his window and gives me the bird. So I'm trying to get his attention so he can see that I'm giving him the finger too, but I couldn't get my window down.
And you wanted to make sure he could see it.
I was waving to him like, hey, hey. Yeah, exactly.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday morning 6 till 9 on 97.9 WGBW and 98.3 and 96.5 WISS. And the Civic Media app.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This week on the Rational Revolution, our dear friend Ahmad Rivera-Wagner brings Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn to talk about January 6th.
Rational Revolution with Mark Becker, Saturdays at 2, Sundays at 1 on your local. Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now a guy who doesn't believe in sex after marriage, Pete Schwaba.
It's not so bad, right? You don't need sex after marriage. You don't get married to have sex. You get married to have companionship, right?
All right. Starting off strong here.
I'm poisoning you. I do believe in sex after marriage, folks. And we talked about that last night when Rob Thomas was here with the Valentine's Day. They give you a 7-course meal, 9-course meal, a heart-shaped pizza on the most romantic night of the year. You're supposed to stuff your face and then go hit the sheets. Horrible.
That just sounds like a food coma. But
it does.
It sounds really good, though.
Exactly. I think you got to hit the sheets first and then go out and talk about what a wonderful roll in the hay it was over dinner. We are getting close to Valentine's Day. It's a couple days away, and we'll be on the air. So we will help kickstart Valentine's Day this year, folks. It'll be fun. Hey, welcome to Nite Lite. I'm Pete Schwaba, your host, and riding shotgun, as always, is Conrad. Wherever you're joining us from tonight, I hope you're getting less snow than we are. It's pretty bad here in Green Bay. The roads are not great. It's very stressful driving down here. And there's always that person on the road who doesn't care, who has all-wheel drive. Even when I have all-wheel drive, I don't try to make other people's lives a living hell on the road just because I can drive 60 miles an hour through bad snow. But there's always those people. I took my time getting here. Kind of a crummy night outside. Hope you're inside listening to the radio. Gather the family around the radio. Old school, folks. Dads, if you got a pipe, light it up. Get the kids their vapes and sit around and listen to the radio. That's what I say on this gorgeous Wednesday night here in the state of Wisconsin. We're broadcasting live from downtown Green Bay, where it is snowy, as I mentioned, but kind of fun to watch the people walking back and forth, all bundled up. I have gotten into the habit every night when I get home, I turn on the gas fireplace and I sit right in front of it, which is terrible because your body temperature goes up. And this started when I was sick last week, and then all of a sudden it's like I don't want to leave. I want to sit 2 feet from the fire, and I dread getting up to go to bed because I'm going to be kind of cold for like 20 seconds into the bedroom. So I've developed some bad habits this winter, folks. But we'll get through it all tonight. We're here to help you escape a little bit. On this winter night, we are going to talk about hugs, right, Conrad?
Definitely hugs.
We kind of talked about... we talked a little bit about that with Valentine's Day coming up. It is International Hug Day, so we're going to talk about hugs, and that may or may not have something to do with our question of the night. I'll let you know very shortly. And then we've got great guest tonight. Glenn Morshower, the actor, is here at 6:35. He played Aaron Pierce on 24, the great Fox show from around the turn of the century, if I may. Around 2000, I think is when 24 started. And it was kind of like a cool streaming show before there was streaming. It was a network show, but it was pretty edgy, and it kind of, there was a lot of episodes to each season, but they were very smart about how they did it. They'd do like 8 episodes, then that threat would be neutralized, then they'd roll into, oh no, it's an even bigger one. And then they were just masterful at how they kept that show on the air, I want to say for about 8 or 10 seasons. And my first guest tonight, Glenn Morshower, played Aaron Pierce, one of the Secret Service men who did about 50 episodes. There was some statistic I read that he and Jack Bauer were the only 2 cast members that were in every season, I think. So that's kind of a cool thing. And Aaron is a really good actor. He was on the show Bloodline. He's been in Transformers, Good Night and Good Luck. He's got an incredible acting resume. He teaches acting in his home city of Dallas. And he will join us here at Nite Lite at 6:35. So I'm excited to meet and talk with Aaron for the first time. And then our pals, John and Amelie, will join me. We had the opportunity to sit down and talk with them a little earlier about their career and where things are at. They're about to release their 3rd album. And the band is called 7,000 Apart. It's not just John and Amelie. They comprise 7,000 Apart, a great musical duo. They will be here over the stream from Sweden at 7:20. So they're your guests. And folks, that does lead me. Let's jump into the hugs, Conrad. I've had enough of this. It's our question of the night.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
Question. Question.
Pregunta.
Question.
Question.
Hey, I have a question. Questions? This question.
Domanda.
Question.
Questions.
In honor of National Hug Day, what celebrity do you wish you could hug? Could be a sports figure, politician, God forbid, actor, singer, comedian, radio host, radio producer. Throwing your name in there, Conrad.
Thanks.
Who do you want to hug? What celebrity do you wish you could hug? That is tonight's question. You can let us know at 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Phone lines are open as well. Feel free to give us a call. Are our phones ready to go, Conrad?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We got the dual line. We got the line 1 and line 2. We can patch people in.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's pretty adamant. We can handle it, folks. Give us a call. We'd love to know what you're thinking throughout the course of the show. It's always great when you guys participate. You can also answer the question on our app, the Civic Media app, which is very easy to use. If you haven't done it, highly recommend it. And Conrad, how can people watch the radio?
Yeah, so on Facebook, we're under WISS, WGBW, or Nightly with Pete Schwaba. On YouTube, it's Civic Media or WGBW, and on Twitter or X, Civic Media or WGBW.
Fantastic. Get a hold of us any way you can. Just get a hold of us, folks. There are no right or wrong answers to the question. There are only your answers. As I mentioned, our guest tonight, actor Glenn Morshower from 24 and Bloodline and 7,000 apart. And they are 7,000 apart from us. They're about 7,000. Is that miles or kilometers? I can't remember what the 7,000 stands for. But they are in Sweden and joining us on the stream. And going to play a new song of theirs, which I've heard, and it is excellent. So you won't want to miss that. This is funny. I just saw on the text line, Brian in Green Bay. Anyone not sick at the station? Conrad. Conrad's a workhorse, man.
That's me knocking on wood right now.
You kind of you do have an unfair advantage. You have your own room.
I got glass.
You got glass. You could, and I'm happy about that because if there's no producer, I can't be here. So please continue that. Drink some, what do they call that? Airborne. Take some zinc, some vitamin D. Thanks for the text, Brian. We're all hanging in here by a thread. Everybody, it's making its way. He says, Edward Scissorhands, help with dry skin. I don't think you want to hug Edward Scissorhands. I do remember that from the trailer when that movie came out, and the neighbor reaches his hand out, and he goes, whoa, quite a grip you got there, Ed. God, I haven't seen that movie in ages. Thank you for the texts, Brian. We have a text we have to get to from last night as well. And this is from, that was from an earlier show, I believe. Steady Eddie, right? Is he the only one we missed?
Yeah.
He literally
texted it right when we ended the show.
Right at the wire. It's like if it was 3, 2, 1, the light above the backboard would be on when Steady Eddie sent his text. So we're going to read that now. Steady Eddie says from last night, where our question was, what was our question last night?
What was the favorite commercial? No, that was
the day before.
Okay, now
I can't remember what the question was last night. Well, let's just read it. Maybe it'll come to us. Steady Eddie says, Pete, Super Bowl is over. Now I'm looking forward to watching second-tier professional football until summer arrives. It helps me calm down and relax after getting overly excited watching golf on TV. Yawn emoji. That's from Steady Eddie, not me. He says, I actually like watching golf on TV and find the green grass, trees, blue skies, and calming voice of Jim Nantz relaxing. Steady Eddie. He hasn't been Steadfast Edward in a while.
He hasn't written us a poem in a while.
We haven't seen one of Steady Eddie's poems. Listen, I agree, though. I'm not a golfer, and playing golf is bad enough. Watching golf for me is worse. But I will say, we golf, Steady Eddie. If you haven't tried it, the greens fees are super cheap. You don't have to leave your house, and you do get that kind of experience. They've got wind sound effects in the sun. It's very beautiful. So I recommend it. I sit next to my gas fireplace and I play Wii Golf. So thank you for this text, Steady Eddie. We should come clean and say we have a pre-record tonight. So our text will probably end. If you want to get your texts in about what celebrity you'd like to hug, please do so before, let's say, 7 o'clock. So we can read them after the news at 7:05. Because when we sat down with 7,000 apart earlier, that was all pre-record as they are in Sweden and we won't be able to answer your text. So please get those in because it's more fun when you guys participate. Big birthday today. One of my favorite actors, Josh Brolin, turns 57. I just watched 2 Sicarios, probably in the last, well, there are only 2, in the last, I would say, 6 months. And No Country for Old Men is one of my all-time favorite movies. Josh Brolin plays Llewellyn Moss in the film. He's so good. The whole cast is phenomenal. But we've got a clip of Josh Brolin's work in No Country for Old Men. We'll fire that up in just a bit. It is it is not Groundhog Day.
It was the release.
The release.
1993.
One of my all-time favorite films, Groundhog Day, came out in 1993. On this day, how upset must the Hollywood studios have been that they couldn't quite post the film in time to get it out for actual Groundhog Day? I'm sure heads rolled. That's something you got to get done. Harold Ramis, I'm talking to you posthumously. I'm kidding. I love Harold Ramis. I love that movie so much. But I guarantee you they were upset that they didn't get it done by the actual Groundhog Day. I have no proof. Just where I'm coming from. So Jim from Appleton says 7,000 apart is kilometers. Sweden to Wisconsin. Jim, thank you for being our Thomas guide, our online Thomas guide. Do you even know what a Thomas guide is, Conrad? No. Do you know what an atlas is?
Yes, I know what an atlas is.
It's kind of like the same thing.
I did study those in school.
The atlas?
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss it. I loved having a map. I could look at my trip right before I got in the car and have a general sense of where I'm going. I get in the car right now, and I'm an absolute numbskull. I listen to this little voice tell me where to go, and it's a nightmare. When I first moved to L.A., everybody was like, get a Thomas guide, get a Thomas guide. And I did. But I bet they don't even make them now.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, take a memo.
I'll look at. I'll Google. I'll Google.
Google it during the break. All right, we've got some. We'll hear some Josh Brolin when we come back. We'll read your texts. Who knows, folks? I might even do some soft shoe. It's snowing outside. It's Wednesday in Wisconsin, and you got Nite Lite with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is the talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
Hey, it's me time at Chula Vista. Time for you to pamper yourself. Wisconsin's most complete resort experience has everything you want. Fine-tuned for 70 years by 4 generations of the Kaminsky family, Chula Vista can be easygoing with colorful scenic river walks, 18 holes of classic golf, a relaxing spa, or you can go all out in 80,000 square feet of indoor water park. Ziplining through canyon views in Chula's Aerial Adventure Park. And dining comes any way you like it, from pizza to Wisconsin's #1 ranked steakhouse. More than 600 guest rooms to choose from with $10 million in updates. Chula Vista, everything you've been wanting, all right here on site. Check it out at chulavistaresort.com.
Miles and miles of freshly groomed cross-country and hiking trails. Ski, sled, snowshoe. Warm up at our indoor water park. chulavistaresort.com.
Max Inc. on Civic Media with Mike and Wendy from Sunspot.
Can you imagine the mosh pit on the bridge that could happen?
Oh, well, that's how the original series was when they moved the camera. Whenever it's the red alert, right?
Yeah,
that was the mosh pit.
Yeah. And everybody had to fake
right. Lean left, lean right.
Yeah.
Join us for all the fun with Max Inc. on Saturday nights, 6 to midnight, across the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
Do you know or work with kids who have special healthcare needs? Help them live their best lives. Contact Wisconsin Wayfinder Children's Resource Network. Our specialists will connect you with services in your area. Wisconsin Wayfinder is free and confidential. Call 877-947-2929 or visit dhs.wi.gov/WISCWA.
Reese is the star I would like to hug. I'm totally blanking on who that is.
It's Angel Reese.
Oh, Angel Reese.
She's a WNBA player.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you would need a stepladder, most likely, Jim. I don't know. Jim could be 7'4" for all I know. He just texts. In his text, he seems medium height. That's a great one. Thank you, Jim. That's our question of the night. What celebrity would you like to hug? It is National Hug Day, folks. My guest tonight, Glenn Morshower, will be here. The actor, he will be here at 6:35 from 24 in Bloodline. Excited to talk to Glenn. And 7,000 Apart, one of our favorite musical duos out of Green Bay and Sweden. I don't know how that works out, but it does, folks. They're going to be here at 7:20. Right now, we have a phone call. Is our friend Catherine on the line?
Yeah.
Hey, Catherine.
Hey, Pete.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm driving in Porridge in Madison. I thought maybe you'd like an update on how the weather's going in Madison. I bet you got it far worse in Green Bay.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I would love an update because I'm not really sure. I thought it was supposed to be worse in southern Wisconsin, but it's kind of bad here.
Yeah, I don't know how many inches we've got. I did my first shovel. I did 3 inches first shovel. I'm going to let tomorrow morning be my next shovel. We're probably going to do the 6. I mean, Brittany Merlot, I think, gave us we'll get 6 inches, give or take.
She warned us, didn't she?
She did. She gave us the warning. The other thing I wanted to tell you was I laughed out loud, snorting about the Thomas Guide. I spent 2 years in L.A., and you have to live in L.A. to know what the Thomas Guide is.
Yeah. It's true. I had one, and I referenced it like the first year. And I mean, I was out there for 14 years, and I got to know the city like the back of my hand. But now if I went out there, even though I've been out there several times since, I wouldn't know. I'd need the Thomas Guide again or my GPS,
100%. And the Thomas Guide, for people who don't know, was a genius map system for L.A. freeways and streets of all sorts. It was genius. You could flip pages like it was a big restaurant menu. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not just a map. It's the Thomas Guide.
The guy who designed it, Thomas, brought himself great fame from the Thomas Guide. He couldn't even go to the bathroom in L.A. without being mobbed by fans. He got women. He got invited to all the cool parties. I don't understand it. I've never done anything close to that cool. But seriously, does anybody have a Thomas Guide anymore? Are they even relevant? I don't know.
I should have held
I doubt
up
it.
to mine. I can just picture it. It had a green and white cover. Oh, I loved that thing.
Catherine, thank you so much for the update. Please be careful driving. And round 3 and 4 of snow shoveling, just take it easy. Lift with the back. That's my advice to you. Lift with the back.
Thanks, Pete.
You got it. Thank you. That's Catherine Lake on the phone. Be careful out there, folks. If you are driving, like I said, I drove here from Marinette. I live about an hour away from here, and it was kind of brutal. It was not fun.
You know what I saw on my drive to the studio? I was by Bay Beach, and there's that intersection where it has four corners.
Yeah.
This semi was coming off the freeway, and it didn't make the turn, and it hit a snowbank.
Really?
Yeah. And I was next to go, so I creeped up a little bit, and I was just in there like, uh-oh.
Well, it's terrible too because like on the on my drive down here, the plow is like it's like a lane and a half wide.
Yeah.
So to go around it, I have to go on the shoulder, which isn't plowed. It was like one of those things. Can you imagine? We've got the NFL draft coming up here in Green Bay in a couple months. If we got some crazy snowstorm.
Yeah, that would suck.
Be awful.
By the way, the semi backed up and kept on trucking.
Really?
So he was all good.
Okay. Hey, it is all right. So our guest at 6:35 is Glenn Morshower. I want to play a clip from 24. He plays the character Aaron Pierce so beautifully. Aaron Pierce is one of the most likable characters on 24, a Secret Serviceman, and this is a scene between Charles Logan, who I think took over being president after David Palmer got killed or assassinated. It's been a while since I've seen 24, so I'm not sure exactly what happened to Palmer's character. But this is a great scene between Charles Logan, who took over after Palmer when he was his vice president. Now he's the president. And it's a scene between Aaron Pierce and Charles Logan. And Aaron Pierce is our guest at 6:35 in the form of Glenn Morshower. Here's that great scene from 24.
Listen to me, Aaron. You think you know what's going on.
I'm here to tell you you don't.
Then why don't you explain it to me, Mr. President?
I understand Jack Bauer led you to believe that there was a recording. Something that tied me to David Palmer's murder. That recording doesn't exist.
That's not what I've been told.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. The recording doesn't exist. It's over. You have a choice here, Aaron. You are a good man. You're a fine agent. I see no reason to throw away your career. But I need to know that we can put this behind us. If you will give me your word that you will let this drop, I will make sure that you are reassigned to whatever post you want. Except for the White House, of course. So, what's it going to be, Aaron? Are my terms acceptable?
There is nothing that you have said or done that is acceptable to me in the least. You're a traitor to this country and a disgrace to your office. And it's my duty to see that you're brought to justice for what you've done. Is there anything else, Charles?
That is brutal. That was such a great scene, though, because I remember thinking, like, would a Secret Service member really stand up to a president that he disagreed with morally? I doubt it. But on TV, our heroes can say whatever they want, so it's awesome. All right, that is our guest at 6:35, Glenn Morshower. We will have Glenn on after the news. Right now, our question of the night, ladies and gentlemen, it is National Hug Day. So naturally, we are asking what celebrity you would like to hug.
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon for Conrad, as always. I'm going to say, I'll lame with it. If I said Sydney Sweeney, would people look down on me? That's
No,
just
actually,
weird.
I want to change mine to Sydney Sweeney now.
I don't know. Maybe Josh Brolin, a birthday hug.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
a
go.
dude hug, you know. All right, we're coming right back. Civic Media's award-winning news team is about to tell you what you need to know, especially when it comes to the weather. So listen in, folks, and we will be right back with actor Glenn Morshower. This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
From Ashwaubenon to Alloway, this is 97.9 WGBW. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Wisconsin has joined a group of 9 other states and the District of Columbia in fighting to maintain higher standards for lead in the water system. The federal rule went into effect on December 30th and is facing a legal challenge by the American Water Works Association. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says the common sense rule should remain in place as lead exposure has been shown to be a health hazard, especially for children. Governor Tony Evers also announced an emergency rule raising lead standards in his State of the State address. Green Bay Area Public Schools purchased and installed 66 new Zoll AED3 units to replace its current automatic external defibrillators and provide dedicated units for athletic trainers. The school district said the change-out happened in February, American Heart Month. The district said in a press release that they replaced all of the AEDs at one time to allow for uniformity in staff training and purchasing replacement parts. A Wisconsin couple is suing Walgreens over their son's asthma death. Shannon and William Schmidtneck's 22-year-old son Cole died in January of last year. According to the lawsuit, their son stopped at a Walgreens pharmacy in Appleton and was told that the price of his inhaler had jumped from $66 to $539 out of pocket. He left the pharmacy without the medication and tried to manage his condition with a rescue inhaler. The lawsuit says he suffered a fatal asthma attack a few days later. The couple alleges Optum RX violated Wisconsin law by raising the cost of the medication without a valid medical reason and failed to notify their son so that he could talk to his doctor about alternatives. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Liam Neeson was supposed to be stepping back from action movies, but apparently the genre is too embedded in his DNA. The Irish actor just started filming The Mongoose, where he plays Fang Flanagan, a war hero being accused of crimes he supposedly did not commit. To add a little more macho to the fire is a character named Tanker, played by Ving Rhames. Michael Chiklis plays the bad guy and head of the Texas Highway Patrol who chases Neeson literally throughout the film. Don't give up on action movies, Liam. Very few people can do them at your age. Sticking with action heroes, actor Jason Statham has a new film in the works called Black Bear. That might be a working title. There's not a whole lot of information about the plot, but I'm guessing there's a chase and probably some unexpected gunfire. Now that's sarcasm. Statham plays a man who gets pulled into his violent past and probably messes a few people up. For more showbiz fun, tune into Night Lite with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A winter weather advisory continues for an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow, otherwise cloudy tonight and a low near 10. Then a clearing sky for tomorrow, high into the upper teens. Then snow chances return on Friday, accumulations likely again. Currently it's 17 degrees.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding the unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Dom Salvia Show.
Inflation has to go down. How would you suggest your president address that? He's not talking about the cost for Americans. Hell, everything he's doing seems to going to increase the cost for Americans, starting with trade wars with Canada and Mexico. So if there is something positive out of this administration, let me know what it is. I would absolutely give credit where credit is due if I see it.
The Dom Salvia Show. Weekdays from 4 till 6 on the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
Pay for the person behind you. Give a compliment. Random acts of kindness.
Hey, this is John Grise, also Uncle Rico, and you're listening to Night Lite with Pete Schwaba.
Gonna be some sweet sounds coming down on the night shift. I bet you're singing proud.
From the 414, Tom in New Berlin says he'd love to hug Bart Starr, his father's favorite. That's a good one. I'm surprised we haven't heard more Packers. That's our question of the night, ladies and gentlemen. What celebrity would you like to hug? It's International Hug Day. 7,000 apart coming up at 7:20 in hour number 2. Welcome to Night Light. I am Pete Schwaba, your host, and right now it is my pleasure to welcome for the first time on Night Light, actor Glenn Morshower joins us now over the stream. Hi, Glenn. Oh, we can't hear Glenn. Glenn, are you muted?
I think you're muted on stream over there, Glenn.
I unmuted it, and then it muted it back for me. There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Figured out.
I think, Glenn, just send me the phone number in the chat, and I'll get you on the phone, all right?
Yeah, let's try that. Or we could fly him up here quick, too. Can we send Glenn airfare? Maybe just get him here in person. That would be ideal, frankly.
If you're
he's
doing
willing.
it. If you're covering there for...
Listen, I would put down good money to get Glenn Morshower here in person. That's the kind of money I have. It would zap my savings, but I would do that just to have Glenn in person. So we'll get Glenn on the phone, and hopefully during a break, maybe we can figure out the StreamYard situation and figure it out. But Glenn will join us momentarily. As I mentioned, he was a regular for many seasons on 24, the show Bloodline. He's also been on King of the Hill and Friday Night Lights. He's just got this great resume. I'm very excited to talk to Glenn about his career and what he's got in the works right now. So we'll do that. And at 7:20, we will have 7,000 apart. In the meantime, if you want to tell us what celebrity you'd like to hug, and don't kid yourself, you know you want to hug a celebrity, let me know. Text us at 855-752-4842. You can also text on the stream or on the app. Very easy to use as well. Tomorrow night on the show, John McGivern will be here, the host of Main Streets. He's going to make the popcorn pick of the week at 6:35. And then Nick Wattier from the Green Bay Film Festival will be here at 7:20. They are having a really cool screening of the film The Giant Spider Invasion coming up at the Green Bay Film Festival. And I know we've had some guys on, Craig Knitt and Dan Davies, talking about their Giant Spider event that they did in Waiwega. There's one coming up right here in Green Bay in your own backyard that you can check out. And Nick will tell us all about that tomorrow as well, after the popcorn pick of the week. So we've got, we're trying to get our guest Glenn Morshower squared away here on the stream. And in the meantime, I'm going to talk about one of my, I wouldn't say Josh Brolin is like my favorite actor, but his body of work, he plays like a really kind of cool, he's got like a quiet macho-ness to him as opposed to like a Jason Statham macho, or even Liam Neeson, who's a phenomenal actor, but can be over the top in his portrayal of these heroes. But Josh Brolin just has kind of a mellow, laid-back kind of... Oh, do we have Glenn? Is he on the stream or the phone?
He's over the phone.
All right, fantastic. Glenn, can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's good to have you either way, phone, stream, I don't care. It's just great to have you on the show. So, and it's great to meet you as well.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. And, I coach online, so I'm used to dealing with this, but for some reason, my normal I use an HD camera, and it wasn't interpreting that.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So, but that was then, and this is now, and happy National Hug Day.
Thank you very much, Glenn. If you were here in person, I'd give you a guy hug just to help you through your time with technology there, because I've been there, my friend, for sure.
Can I tell you that my self-esteem was jolted when you did not mention me as your hugging preference?
Well, listen, I don't like to rush things in any relationship, Glenn. I just met you. We have mutual friends, as I've seen on IMDb. I know you know my sister, Julie. I didn't want to rush it. I just want to see let's just dip our toes in the water here and see what kind of relationship develops, shall we?
So you believe in the old adage, pace thyself.
Yeah. Well, sometimes. If it serves me, yes. Hey, Glenn, so tell us, before we get into some of the shows you've done, and I have a really cool clip I found of you talking about acting and putting yourself at ease, which I just loved. I'd love to play that while you're on the air and get your take on that. But can you tell us how you got into this racket that we call acting?
Absolutely. I was 11 years old, which was 54 years ago. And I went to a play. My mom took my brother and myself to the Dallas Theater Center to see a production of Charles Dickens' play A Christmas Carol. And she wanted to issue us some culture.
Okay.
And that's the way my mother talks. She said, boys, we're going to get you some culture. So we went to see the show, and it turns out I knew one of the kids in the play. And at the intermission, I was so smitten with the energy and the good time that appeared to be had by my friend Debbie that I asked my mom if she could check and see if they have classes for kid actors. And fortunately, I had a mom that didn't minimize my urge and immediately investigated and enrolled me, and I took to it like a duck to water.
Wow. That's really, I think it's not uncommon. I've heard stories like that, but the fact that you know instantly that you want to do that, you can't ignore that, right? I mean, that's just an urge that you have to explore.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly felt that way about it. And I studied theater. I'm going to condense this because I understand you've got some time constraints. But I studied theater for 4 years at DTC. And one day they got a phone call that changed my life. Everyone should be so blessed, so fortunate that they get a phone call that changes the entire trajectory of your life.
Wow.
And that phone call came from a talent agency here in Dallas that was looking for young teenage actors that were able to handle a lot of copy. You know what copy is, as a radio host, a lot of words, for a national television campaign. And my first reaction was, you mean you can get paid for this? And I walked in. Man, I had so much amniotic fluid on my head. They had to wipe me down. And they wound up casting me as the lead role in this commercial. And I started working in television from right here in Dallas, finished up high school, and in my senior year, Columbia Pictures came through Texas. They went to 4 cities, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas. Dallas was their final stop. And I wound up reading for and being cast in the lead role in a film that was a studio-backed picture, was not an indie film. And I had no clue that that was basically unheard of.
Oh, wow.
That you would hand the leading role to an unknown actor and an untried commodity. And everything changed for me. I was 16 when I did that film. I moved to LA at 17. The following year, graduated high school early, and knew all along that it was what I would do with my life. And I will tell you, Pete, the one word that changed everything for me is the fact that I do not use the word pursue. And I teach this to actors all the time. You know, more often than not, the word pursue is modified by the word dreams. People say, are you going to pursue your dreams? And I had people that sounded like this here in Texas that said, man, I think that's great. So you're going out to Hollywood to pursue your career? And I said, no, I'm headed there to have one.
That's great. My guest is Glenn Morshower, actor from 24 and Bloodline. He also teaches acting and has a really cool story about how he found the business. Hey, Glenn, could you mute your computer? I think we're getting some feedback from because
let me do that.
Sure. So what was it like, Glenn, being on 24? I mean, that's such a great run on that show as an actor. Even when you sign on to do a day part or whatever, and they keep asking you back, that's got to be a thrill. But you did I think you did like 50 episodes of 24. What was that experience like?
I wound up coming in. Is that better? Did we
Much
clear
better,
the sound
yes.
issue?
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, that's great.
Because I realized we're working with audio in one and video from the other. But I came in as a 2-episode guest star, and that was it.
Wow.
So one of the things I also teach people is never suppress your life with a self-imposed ceiling. So in my mind, it wasn't 2 episodes. In my mind, they were adding an important character to the cast. And but that's all I agreed to do. That's all we were signed to do. It's all we negotiated for. And they immediately, I came in the 2nd episode of the show. They immediately identified a chemistry between Aaron Pierce and David Palmer, the president, played by Dennis Haysbert. And they thought, we don't want to kill you, which is one of my favorite things to hear in the business.
Right.
Is we don't want to kill you. And it turned into me being on the show longer than anyone other than Kiefer Sutherland. I did 7 of the 8 years.
That is such a great run. And it was such a great show, Glenn, because I called it earlier. It was kind of like a streaming show before we had streaming. Like the fact that the producers were able to really get almost 3 seasons out of 1 season because, network TV, you got to do 24 episodes or whatever it is. And they were so good at managing, like one threat would be crushed and then the second part of the season would start. And then you've got that. It was just masterfully done. You had some great scenes, too, with Gene Smart, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yes.
How did you guys get along during the show?
Gene and I got along fabulously. And, typically I'm the guy in charge of anything, whether it's the military, whether it's a government agency, but I'm always at the head of that. And I'm certainly not a sex symbol. So the idea that they had me fall in love, I'm sorry, what? They had me fall in love with Gene Smart. Yes, please sign me up for 2 or 3 scoops of that.
How about a spinoff?
So it was fabulous. And And that was our best season, by the way, when they introduced that relationship. That was season 5, and that's the year we won the Emmy Award for Best Drama.
But it was reciprocated too, right? Like she had, I don't remember this 100%, but, or if you guys actually had something going on, but there were definitely mutual feelings there between the characters.
Well, she left her husband for me.
Oh, I really didn't remember.
So I would say that maybe something was going on.
I think you're a bona fide sex symbol then, Glenn, whether you want to admit it or not. So what about Bloodline, Glenn? Was that a good experience? Did you have scenes with Jamie McShane?
Wait, before we jump to Bloodline, Pete,
Yeah.
I got to tell you this.
Sure.
You mentioned, now I'm a bona fide sex symbol. My first kiss was in that movie that I mentioned. The name of it was Drive-In. By the way, if you ever get drunk or lose a bet, you can watch this film on YouTube. And that was my first on-screen kiss. And I didn't get my second kiss until 2 years ago on screen.
I hope you didn't forget it all.
That's what you call a serious draft.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So apparently I'm still a sex symbol. What was your Bloodline question?
Well, my friend Jamie McShane was on that show and had a great run, and I was wondering if you had scenes with Jamie.
Isn't Jamie from that area?
He lives in L.A., and that's where I met him. I don't know where. I don't think he has any connections with Florida.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jamie and I worked together twice. The first time we worked together was in a movie with Bruce Willis called Hostage.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually thought Jamie stole that movie. I thought he was the performance of the film, despite the fact that it was a very small role. And then lo and behold, I turn around and see that he's a series regular in Bloodline, which I was not. I was a guest star for 2 seasons. But I think that Jamie just lit up that. And I think he's a consummate actor, and he's great in everything I see him do.
He is. That's very nice. I'll pass that along. Hey, we have to do a quick break, Glenn, and then I want to come back, and I would love to play this clip for you, but I have so many questions for you, and I really do appreciate your time tonight. I know you're a busy guy.
I'm all yours, brother. No rush. I'm here as long as you need me.
All right, we've got bona fide sex symbol Glenn Morshower here. He's also happens to be a fantastic actor joining us here on Nightlight. We'll be back with more with Glenn right after a very short break. Don't leave, folks. I like having you around. It's Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I don't wanna be your son. Only lover I'm ever gonna need. A soft, sweet little girl's tongue.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. The New Hampshire legislature has proposed various schemes over the last decade to keep liberal-leaning college students living in the state from voting in elections. Most have failed, but no fewer than 3 voter suppression bills are before the legislature this year. A 2020 New Hampshire Supreme Court decision overturned a previous law, SB 3, and preserved the current rules allowing college students to use their dormitory or off-campus address as their legal domicile for voting purposes. As of last November, an official student ID could still be used as identification. That could change with HB 323, which eliminates school-issued identifications as acceptable means for ID for voting. SB 223 has been tried before. It allows any student eligible to vote in New Hampshire to qualify for in-state tuition at any state university system campus, but also eliminates college-issued IDs as a form of identification. HB 289 challenges the definition of domicile again. Previous bills tried to outlaw dormitories as acceptable domicile, require a car registration, or to have a New Hampshire driver's license. HB 289's latest tactic prohibits domicile status for anyone who is legally a dependent at an address outside the state. We've linked to local reporting and the text of the bills at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
Every story matters, and the Civic Media Radio Network is celebrating Black History Month by honoring the powerful stories of Wisconsin's own trailblazers.
looking at the road that was laid before me.
From civil rights to business,
Food and like food trucks is just like a cool atmosphere.
science to music,
Speaking of which, this is why I spit. Express sentiment a lot of cats don't get.
Every time I think of you, I feel a shot right through the bow of good. It's no problem of mine, but it's a problem I find. Living a life that I can't leave behind.
Great to have you with me on this Wednesday evening here in the state of Wisconsin. We are broadcasting live statewide from beautiful downtown Green Bay. Beautiful downtown snowy Green Bay, but it feels a lot warmer because we have some great conversation going here with our new friend Glenn Morshower, the actor who has been seen in 24 and Bloodline and King of the Hill. Glenn, how do you like doing comedy?
Well, you know, comedy is, Pete, the thing that I moved to Los Angeles to do. And it's amazing that it wound up going in a different direction.
Oh, wow.
Comedy was my thing. Yeah, it was my thing. And very few people know that about me. But I have been blessed to pop in from time to time as a guest star on different shows. I did Jeff Foxworthy's very first TV sitcom. But I get to do it from time to time, and I still love it. But you're not going to resist that which butters your toast.
Right.
And doing dramas have buttered my toast for years. You know, there's an old saying, does it bother you being a character actor? No, it bothers me not being a character actor. It bothers me not working. So we put our kids through college with character acting.
Right.
So it's, you know, it's good stuff, man. I don't have a complaint one in my life.
Wow, that's a great answer. And it interests me that you said that because you're one of, this is going to sound like I'm blowing smoke, Glenn, and maybe I am a little bit, but you have one of those faces that you don't have to do anything and people like to watch you. It's very expressive. It's perfect for film acting. I'm sure you were a great stage actor too, but that's a gift. I mean, that's probably the reason you've always worked, and you've got almost 300 credits, I would imagine.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. This is probably my favorite place to do. And I used to rehearse the 24 coming into the office and sounding and looking like this and saying, Mr. President, we got problems in the Middle East.
Like the Jerry Lewis Secret Service guy. Oh, that's funny. I hope you all got to see that on the screen.
Man, you go a long way on a sense of humor, I'll promise you.
Absolutely. So, Glenn, you've worked with such great actors, Denzel Washington, Kiefer Sutherland, Brad Pitt, Gene Smart, like we discussed. Is there someone who you've worked with that has either intimidated you or challenged you and forced you to raise your game as an actor, or both? Were they the same actor?
Well, it may sound arrogant, but the answer is no. I've never felt intimidated. I've never felt that I've never suffered from imposter syndrome in my life. I've always had a beautiful sense of belonging, and I coach that. I coach the essence of belonging. I coach it in businesses. I travel a lot as a speaker, so that's my answer. But I'll tell you, probably what concretized that sensation in me was having worked with Jack Lemmon. And
wow.
Jack Lemmon was my hero as a little boy. I remember, because I've known I wanted to be an actor since I was 11 years old. It's 55 years. And I worked with Jack Lemmon as a narrator. I do a tremendous amount of voiceover work. And so I was narrating a film way back in the day when HBO was in its infancy, and I walked into the studio. There were four voices that they hired, 4 narrators. And here was my company that day. And I was in my mid-20s. And I look over, and it's Carl Malden, Ed Asner, and Jack Lemmon, and this goofball. and I'm a kid. They're all grown. I'm the only one that's, young man in his 20s. And I told Jack that day that he was my hero. I didn't hold it back. I just said, this is truly an honor for me. And I didn't say it before. I said it at the end of the session because I wanted to have the session take place on a level playing field. I didn't want to go in there idolizing, and because I thought it would get in the way of the work. But at the end of the day, he was so appreciative with the truth about what I said to him that he got really conscious. And I think what he did, because I do it now, courtesy of Jack Lemmon, he put himself in my shoes and thought, what would mean the most to me? And I will treat Glenn that way, which I really believe in living life that way.
Yeah.
So he thought, I bet me offering to walk him to his car would mean something to him. This is him thinking it. And he said, Glenn, where are you parked? And I told him, and he said, there was no parking available for me today here, believe it or not, either. So tell you what, why don't I walk you to your car? And Jack and I took about a 2-block stroll down Melrose together, which changed my life.
Oh, man.
Just Jack Lemmon and me, nobody else, cars flying by, and we're chatting about all of his different movies and everything. And I just spent the day side by side with him in the studio. I felt like I died and gone to heaven. It was one of those kill me now if you must moments.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Those are the moments that, like, that's what life is. Like, when you have those and you can embrace them and take mental snapshots, they just stick with you forever and validate every decision you made, I'm sure, about the profession you've chosen. And that's such a great story, Glenn. Hey, can we keep you for a few extra minutes? We've got to do some news here, but I would love to.
I told you,
All right.
I'm yours as long as you want.
Okay, well, let's make it a mini-series. Glenn, we have we're going to do some news, and then I've got some advice. If any of you out there are aspiring actors, you are going to want to hear this clip of Glenn talking about acting and his approach. And I want to get your take on that too, Glenn, and we'll ask you what it was like being behind the camera as well. And maybe we'll even go to some Transformers if you can manage the time. And you said you're all ours.
Yeah,
and
I'm chilling. Don't rush.
All right, fantastic. We'll do the news. Civic Media's news team will tell you what you need to know, and then we'll be back with more with the great actor Glenn Morshower. This is Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home for the Maggie Dawn Show.
Dom Salvia.
Next time, we will recap the status of the Trump administration's multiple court cases. Plus, why don't Republican elected officials want federal cuts in their states? Tune in.
The Dom Salvia Show, weekdays 4 till 6. Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. The Trump administration has been subjected to serious pushback against a lot of its agenda. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt says a false narrative is being pushed.
District court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law.
Separately, 8 inspectors general Trump fired are suing to contest their dismissals. In Milwaukee, a police officer was seriously wounded when he was shot by a man with a semi-automatic rifle on the city's near west side. Another officer returned fire, killing the gunman. The government reports inflation rose to 3% on an annual basis in January. In another report, the government said egg prices hit a record high in the U.S. last month, $4.95 a dozen. This is ABC News.
You are listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app too? And if you miss a show or game, find it wherever you get your podcasts or on our website, civicmedia.us.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. The City of Green Bay and C. Rice have devised a plan to move the massive coal piles on Mason Street to the former J.P. Pulliam Generation Station, freeing up the waterfront property for redevelopment for commercial, restaurant, and other downtown-friendly development. While these two entities agree, everything hinges on whether Brown County and C. Rice can come together on a use for the Pulliam plant site. The city's redevelopment authority recommends that the Common Council approve the memo of understanding with C. Rice at its March 4th meeting. A Wisconsin congressman proposes a bill that would ban federal government contracts for special government employees, similar to the bans for members of Congress and other federal employees. 2nd District Representative Mark Pocan plans to introduce the Eliminate Looting of Our Nation by Mitigating Unethical State Kleptocracy Act, or the Elon Musk Act. Musk heads the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which looks to cut waste in government spending. Pocan says the text of his planned legislation will be forthcoming. The race for the state Supreme Court is getting expensive. You've probably heard or seen ads supporting either Dane County Judge Susan Crawford or Waukesha County Judge and former Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel. January's campaign finance reports show the Crawford campaign raised $2.8 million and Schimmel's $2 million. Supreme Court elections are officially nonpartisan, but in this race, Schimmel is backed by Republicans and conservative groups, while Crawford has the support of liberals and Democrats. The winner of the April 1st election will serve a 10-year term. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News.
The Bucks in Minnesota. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Milwaukee Bucks take on the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight at the Target Center. Giannis still out with a calf injury. Head coach Doc Rivers on trying to figure out playing time for the new guys acquired in the Chris Middleton trade.
It's tough because it's it's easy with one guy, but we have multiple guys that we're trying to squeeze in. And we got to find out because we have guys here that we like. So we have to find out in these next 30 games. So it's important.
College basketball, Marquette with a win at home last night over the DePaul Blue Demons, 68-58. That snapped a 3-game losing streak for Marquette. NFL, Packers quarterback Jordan Love on the Kay Adams Show says he and his fiancée, Ronica Stone, are deciding what snacks to serve at their wedding this spring.
Well, the important thing for both of us is pretty cool. Being from California, we need an In-N-Out truck at the wedding.
Let's go. It's amazing. So you're going to have one at the wedding?
We're going to have an In-N-Out truck, yeah.
That's Jordan Love with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
I'm Lisa Hale with WGBW News. Your news in depth. Find it in the news section at WGBW.FM.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A winter weather advisory continues for an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow, otherwise cloudy tonight and a low near 10. Then a clearing sky for tomorrow, high into the upper teens. Then snow chances return on Friday, accumulations likely again. Currently it's 17 degrees.
Mino and the Mayor.
You're sore when you start working out after you haven't been working. Okay, so no big deal.
Did you stretch before you worked out?
Yeah, big time.
You did not. Yeah, see, that's okay. You stretch before and after. And really, your stretch before and after should equal the time you work out.
Okay, hey, Dad.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday morning 6 till 9 on 97.9 WGBW and 98.3 and 96.5 WISS. And the Civic Media app.
Imagine home. The smell of coffee, the sound of a lawnmower, the sun's warmth on your face. Free to be yourself, surrounded by love that helps you grow. This is a place to call home. That's an American dream we all deserve. But in 50% of U.S. states, you could legally be denied housing if you are LGBTQ+. Get the facts and hear real stories at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Jane Matnair and Greg Bach.
Coming up on the show, this year they have snow. Sean Connolly will be joining us to talk about the Birkebeiner. A little weather and wine with Brittany Merlot. More.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who believes a penny saved isn't jack Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back. Kicking off hour number 2 on this Wednesday night here at Night Light. Great to have you with me. 7,000 Apart coming up at 7:20, one of our favorite musical acts. They will be joining us over the stream from Sweden and be back in Green Bay soon. But they have new material, and they will give us a sample of that coming up in just a few minutes. Right now, we have a few more minutes with actor Glenn Morshower. You've seen Glenn on 24 and Bloodline and maybe King of the Hill, Friday Night Lights. He's got this incredibly extensive acting resume. Glenn, what do you have coming up? Anything new coming out that we can see you in?
Well, right now, what I have coming up, Pete, is Night Light with Pete Schwaba on WGBW Denmark.
Wow, you did some serious homework there during the break, my friend. I appreciate that. And it's great to have you here. We can't pay you, unfortunately, although I was ready to put you on a plane when the stream wasn't working very well. But it's great to have you here. Hey, I want to play this clip if you're okay with this. We have I have you giving advice on acting. It's about 2 minutes long. Sure. I'd love for you to explain this clip, but I really want people to hear it. This is Glenn giving acting advice. It's just great stuff, and then we'll break it down with Glenn after the clip. Go ahead, comrade.
I discovered that actors, for some reason, have a difficult time when they're going to the big show, when they go to the big meeting, where, let's say, someone recognizable is in there. I remember, for example, today, Henry Winkler will be seated 2 tables over from where I am. I went in and saw the setup. Many, many years ago, I went in for a read where Henry Winkler was one of the executive producers. And just the image of him alone, the Fonz, there, for a lot of people would make for a very intimidating outing. And so what they're able to do in their living room with their wife or with their mother or sister, brother or cousin, and they're able to relax, all of a sudden they see Henry Winkler and their knees start shaking and their hands start shaking and they perspire and maybe they get that little quivering thing in their throat. And then all of a sudden, and I know this from experience, I ask actors, how many of you have ever had the experience of the finest version of the audition be the one that takes place in the car on the way home after the audition? And they always raise their hands like, yeah, well, so how could you become that relaxed while you're in the real deal when it matters most? And I decided that in order to just practice a relaxation technique, and it was only an experiment, I didn't need it, I was always at ease in these meetings, I decided to fill my shoes with syrup. And actual maple syrup. Let me look here and say maple syrup. And so I went into this high-powered meeting for a series regular role, and my shoes were full of syrup. And I got to tell you, you can't mess up a meeting when your shoes are full of syrup, because you know what? You don't care. You don't care. Someone greets you and says, "Hi, I'm so-and-so," and you go, "Hi." Hi. And that's really what's going on. And what's beautiful is it's a harmless secret, and only you know. Well, I did this for a number of years, and each time stepping it up, and I wound up beginning to put things like bologna and breakfast cereal and whatnot actually in my undershorts. And I moved away from the socks altogether and discovered that food in my undershorts was the secret to success. Now, here's the point. I'm not joking. People go, "Oh, that's just such a funny bit. That's funny." No, it's true. And I've been doing it for years. So.
Glenn, what food are you wearing tonight?
Well, I'm not sporting any this evening, but Pete, I would have been happy to have told that story live without the background. That was at a Comic-Con, so there were people all around us during that interview. But it's 100% true. It was a series regular role, and I went in, circled around, went back into my house. My wife asked me if I had forgotten my keys, and I said, "No, I just heard a whisper." There's no part of this story that's embellished, and I'm someone who obeys his whispers. So I had a whisper, and she said, "What'd you hear?" And I said that apparently I'm supposed to go to ABC today with my shoes filled with syrup. And proof that we are deeply in love, and we're still together. We've been married 46 years. She said on that day, I was 25 years old, she said, "Honey, would you like me to get Aunt Jemima or a log cabin?" That was it. Like she didn't say, "Honey, are you unwell?" So we went into the kitchen, loaded up, and I started running an experiment. I'm going to give you the super condensed version.
Okay.
The record at the agency that I was with was 3 jobs in a row, meaning read book, read book, read book. And it had been done 3 times. Excuse me, the record was 4. It had been done 3 times where someone got 3 in a row.
Wow.
And here I am doing with food in my undershorts. I'm now tying the record, and I want the record. So I tied it now, 4 in a row. And on the 5th audition, en route to the audition, I pulled over into a Ralph's grocery store in Sherman Oaks, walked in, went through the meat aisle, and got some Oscar Mayer bologna. And what's beautiful about bologna is that it is circular. And when you fold it in half, it doesn't fit well. It fits perfectly directly between your butt cheeks. And I went in and I started booking work with bologna in my butt cheeks. And I did it forever. And that record is still standing at 9 jobs in a row.
Do you think, Glenn,
and the idea is that you don't care. You just don't care.
Do you think you'd have even more success if you put healthier food somewhere on your person?
You know, I think there's a case to be made for that.
Maybe some pure maple syrup. That is so great. And, you know, it's funny. The meetings I've been to over the years, I always found went better when I was distracted by something else, when I wasn't hyper-focused in the moment and talking too much or trying to be too funny or whatever it was. So I love that. I absolutely love that. Do you?
So when you walk, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, do you advise people to do that?
Yes, but only every day. Only every day. And what I tell them is when you walk into the room, here's the beautiful thing. You're certainly not going to advertise it.
Right.
You're an idiot if you do. You don't advertise it. You don't tell anyone your secret. But what happens is you have this identifiable radiance that you walk into the room with. And here's why. Because what you're feeling is, I know something you don't know. Right.
Oh, that's great. I think the bologna's good too. I bet better than like a pimento loaf that would cause trouble down the road. But I think that's great advice, Glenn. And tell me this. All right. So you give inspirational talks and you call them inspirational talks. You don't call them motivational talks. And I like that. But can you explain why? And also you say you like giving those more than you like acting. And can you tell me why as well?
More than anything in my life. Because having made movies, and I still enjoy it, and believe me, the exposure that we get from it is life-changing. And so many doors have been opened for me in my life courtesy of that exposure. So I'm not interested in stopping that. But the thing that is not satisfying by comparison is that anytime I'm in a movie or a television show, someone else is pulling the strings telling me what to say. And nobody does that on stage. Those are my words coming unedited, unfiltered, directly from my heart. So it's me out there raw. There is no comparison. When you've made your living pretending to be another human being for 50 years, you know, you're running out of time and you're thinking, I would like for the world to get to know who I am. And I've been doing this. I've been speaking for 40 years. But now it's to the point where I don't have to make another movie as long as I live. I travel and speak to a lot of Fortune 500 companies, religious institutions, churches, mosques, ashrams, not any particular thing. Whatever anybody wants to talk about that is spirit-based. And we have massive quantities of fun. It's really good to have people remember who it is they really are. And to remember that they are powerful and not weak by design. We got here by outswimming 500 million other competitors. That is the act of a champion, not a wussy.
That is fantastic, Glenn. That is great stuff. Where can people, if they wanted to book you, how would they go about that? Where could they find out more information?
We just send them off to Glenn Morshower, GLENN MORSHOWER.com. Okay. And there's a whole thing on my speaking there. And you can also go to YouTube and see my TED Talk.
I highly recommend it. It's great stuff. You're a terrific speaker, and I'm not surprised given your acting talents, but it is really great stuff. So I recommend all of you check it out. Glenn, we got a text from the 920. Brian says, in quotes, he obviously really liked what you said. What's beautiful about baloney is it is circular. So you really broke it down properly for our listeners, and they appreciate that very much.
Well, think what would happen, Pete, if it was square. It really fits very poorly.
I don't know
with
that
it being circular, you fold it in half. It's almost as though that's why they designed it that way.
I got to be honest, Glenn, and if I'm wedging bologna up there, I really don't pay attention to shape. It's traumatic enough. I'm not going to split hairs over the minutia, but I will keep that in mind.
Brother, you know that we, my wife and I, Carol and I, are both crazy about your sister, Julie.
Yeah, well,
we love Julie.
It's totally mutual, and I'm so glad she put us in touch. I'm sad I was in L.A. for 14 years, and I didn't get to meet you while I was out there, but I'm glad it worked out here tonight, and it's been so much fun getting to talk to you and getting to know you, buddy. So thanks so much for your time tonight.
Pleasure. We'll do it again. How long have you been back in Wisconsin?
About 10 years, but I've been doing radio for about a year, and I'm really digging it. So Wisconsin's a very easy place to live. Yeah, but I would.
Well, hang on to my number. Stay in touch, and thanks. An honor to have spent time with you tonight.
Absolutely. Let's do it again. I appreciate it, Glenn. Thanks so much. That's Glenn Morshower. Check out his website, Google his name and adda.com, and check him out on 24 and Bloodline and Friday Night Lights. Just a great actor and an even better dude. That was really fun. Conrad, what did you learn there?
Well,
he's a teacher.
Well, I just got to let you know, I am rocking ham, not bologna.
Okay.
Ham, okay?
All right.
And
it's a little leaner cut than bologna, I think.
I'm feeling better tonight. I'm not focusing on the show. I'm focusing on that ham.
I don't know if I want to hear that, but okay. From the 818, Bridget says, I would like a hug from Jennifer Aniston. She seems like a great person. I would like some of her energy to wear off on me. Oh, that's a great, okay. I did not think Jennifer Aniston. That's very nice. When we come back, folks, after a very short break, 7,000 Apart. John and Amelie will be here. They're going to drop their new song here on the show. You'll get to hear it tonight. And we will talk to them in just moments. Tomorrow night, join us for John McGivern. And we will be right back with more Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Just another night is all that it takes to understand the difference between lovers and fake. So, baby, I talk to you in the night, in your dream of love so true. I talk to you in the night, in your dream of love so true.
From De Pere to Swamico, 97.9 WGBW.
The 2025 draft is almost here, bringing in guests from around the world for this once-in-a-lifetime event. Ready to turn your home into a revenue powerhouse? Simple Life Hospitality makes it easy to rent your home and provides expert, locally managed care, backed by over 50 years of experience. All guests are fully vetted for your peace of mind, so don't miss out. Partner with Simple Life Hospitality today. Visit simpleliferentals.com and make the most of this unforgettable event. That's simpleliferentals.com.
Hey, it's family time at Chula Vista with the right kind of fun for everyone. Wisconsin's most complete resort experience has everything you want. Fine-tuned for 70 years by 4 generations of the Kaminsky family. Chula Vista can be easygoing with colorful scenic river walks, a rejuvenating spa visit, relaxing at outdoor fire pits, or you can go all out in 80,000 square feet of indoor water park and outdoors with cross-country skiing, sledding, and snowshoeing. Dining comes any way you like it, from pizza to Wisconsin's #1 ranked steakhouse. More than 600 guest rooms to choose from with $10 million in updates. Chula Vista, everything you've been wanting, all right here on site. Check it out at chulavistaresort.com.
Discover Chula's Winter Wonderland. Miles of freshly groomed trails, skiing, sledding, snowshoeing. Check out bonus gift cards at chulavistaresort.com.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the
All right. Welcome back. This is exciting because there is no better way to cheer me up midweek with crummy conditions outside in the middle of winter. The best way to get through this is to welcome some old friends to the show, and they are luckily not in Green Bay right now, even though they spend a substantial amount of time here. They're joining us all the way from Sweden, even though they are staples on the music scene here in Northeast Wisconsin. 7,000 apart. Amelie and John join us now. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you so
thanks
much.
for having
Thanks
us.
for having us back.
You're welcome. Anytime. It's always fun when you guys are on the show. And this is the first time, although this is the first time you've been on over the stream. You usually come in, which is even more fun, but it's a little impossible right now.
I mean, we'll join you in a month or so if you'll have us back already then.
we'll
so
be
Oh,
back
yeah.
soon. Yeah.
So you're coming back in a month?
yeah, that's the plan. We're planning on spending a month this spring just to do some tour prep for summer and maybe play a couple shows and
Okay.
maybe drive down to Nashville. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's exciting. Absolutely, we'll have you back in here. And I know you have a new song. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it's like performing in Sweden compared to Green Bay. It's just great to have you guys on the show. So how are things going in Amelie, your native land, and your adopted hometown, John, or home country?
Yeah.
It's good. We're spending a lot of time in the studio right now. It's perfect. It might not be like a snowstorm right now, but it's really cold outside and it's very dark since it's so up north.
Yeah.
It's almost like Alaska north. And so the days during winter are pretty short. There's not a lot of sunlight, but that makes for really good studio hang days. And just to so that's what we've been doing. We've been writing and recording, and we are working on album number 3.
Yeah. It's basically I've just been in the studio for like 4 months,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much all. So like I haven't talked to people, so I don't know if I know how to do this anymore. We'll see.
Well, your wife will help you through it, and I'll help you through it, John. You've crushed it in the past. I have no doubt it's like riding a bike. But okay, so for those who are listening who maybe haven't heard your story before, give us a little background again. Tell us how you got together, how you guys met and became man and wife and a great duo musically.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you might have guessed for those who are listening, I am from Sweden originally. And so I went as an exchange student when I was 17 to the US, and I could have ended up anywhere in the entire country, any state, any city. And I end up in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so we actually met in music theory class my senior year of high school, and we just
At Preble. Yeah.
at
Okay.
Preble.
Right.
We just became good friends over music, ended up dating that whole school year, ended up having to decide if we wanted to be long distance or break up, and we ended up doing long distance for 3 years. So
Wow.
I was studying in Kentucky and Amelie was in Sweden. We started 7,000 apart as just a way of like having something to talk about and something to do. And long story short, it ended up becoming our job. And yeah, we get to do this all the time now. So it's super, super fun.
So now it is your
Crazy.
full-time job, right? This is what you guys do. Oh, how fun. That's so great.
Yeah, it's incredible. We're so lucky, and we're very, very happy we get to do what we do.
John, for the record, you're doing great. That was a really good answer.
Thank you. I'm trying really hard. I'm trying to like.
It's also, for the record, it's also quite late here in Sweden right now. So,
Okay.
and since it's release day, we released a new song today. We've been working since like literally we opened our eyes this morning. I started my day like laying 2 hours in bed, doing like admin work and sending the
Wow.
songs to people, sending the song to people, and yeah. So it's been a long day, but we are so excited we get to end it with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Likewise, right back at you. So let me ask you this, Emily. I think this is funny because I remember there was an exchange student in Marinette where I went to high school who came from a different country that was also cold, and the town was small, like the town he ended up in. And I'm like, this is kind of a cruel joke. Like, you want to go somewhere different. I mean, it worked out well for you going to Green Bay, but how different are the climates and where you lived in Sweden as to what it was like in Green Bay?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I was like, I could have ended up in like South Carolina or something,
Yeah.
but obviously it worked out well for me. I have no complaints. And at least like your summers are warmer. Like you get like proper summers, and sometimes you get like a day in the 70s in like November or like
Right.
February. And those I live for those days. Those days get me
Same.
through the rest of winter. So we don't get that here because it's so even.
Okay.
But at the like on the other hand, like it doesn't get as intense here. So like summers are lovely unless they're rainy and at 50 degrees. But when it's like a good summer stay in Sweden, it's a good summer stay. We don't get the humidity.
It's normally like 70 to 72 degrees for like the whole summer.
Oh, wow.
It's like super great. Yeah.
So what about you, John? Like, you're over there. You spend a lot of time over there.
Yeah.
What do you prefer? If not the people, let's not talk about the people, but in terms of climate and, just livability, how do you do over there compared to here?
I mean, I think it's very different, and I'm very happy that I have like access to both countries. Like I think you get to a certain point where you're like you want to be able to drive because we have all of our stuff in our van, and you want more space, you know?
We have like the smallest apartment in the world.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that when you live in a big city, that's something that you're gonna have less space, right? Unless you
Right.
want to live like really far out in the suburbs. And we live right downtown, which is great for walkability. We walk everywhere. But when you want to take your PA system and all your guitars to a gig, it's like
kind of awkward to take it on the subway.
Yeah.
So like you do
Wow.
that or take an Uber or
Yeah.
so it's definitely like it's very different, so I think it's nice having a mixture of both things, and I think my life would look very different if we had to choose only one country.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
sure.
We are very happy we don't have to make that choice.
That is pretty
Yeah.
cool. And John, I think you're officially warmed up. So I think after we do a quick,
I'm getting there. Yeah.
After we do a quick news break, I think we can jump right into the good stuff, and we will hear the new song from 7,000 Apart. Very excited to have these guys on the show. The new song is called "Souls and Soma's Scars." Am I saying that right, you guys?
Yeah, Soul and Soma Scars. I know it's
Okay.
It's hard to say.
It's
yeah.
alliteration, it's a literary
Yeah.
device. A lot of S's.
No, it works. I'm just not very bright. So, all right, we'll hear that when we come back. Great to have you guys. John and Amelie from 7,000 Apart are here. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
There's progress we have found a way to talk around the problem. Building tower foresight isn't anything at all. Fly the sky and tell the sky and leave the sky and tell the sky.
The talk of Green Bay, WGBW. You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. State Republicans are proposing legislation they say would add more transparency to the school referendum process. One bill would require local governments and school boards to provide information about the property tax difference on a median value home on the ballot with the referendum question. Another would prevent school districts from losing state funding if a nearby district passes a referendum. School ballot referendums have become increasingly common in recent years, with more than 200 proposed in the 2024 elections. sturgeons. The first 4 days of the sturgeon spearing season saw 408 sturgeon harvested throughout the Lake Winnebago system. The upriver lakes are about 55% of the way to the harvest cap, but on Lake Winnebago, the cap is in no danger of being reached yet. The sturgeon spearing season runs through February 23rd or until the harvest cap is reached, whichever comes first. Meanwhile, the Wisconsin DNR says Haley Herzig of Fond du Lac made history over the weekend when she caught the fourth largest sturgeon ever harvested in Wisconsin. The 22-year-old is a first-time spearer and caught a 180-pound female measuring 79.3 inches long. The Wisconsin DNR is inviting residents to share their thoughts on the agency's natural resource management plans. According to a press release, the Wisconsin Conservation Congress will be accepting public input regarding statewide conservation issues through January 24th. Each resident will be allowed to submit 2 proposals, which will then be reviewed by a committee of delegates. Resident submissions must have an effect on the entire state, and the goals must be practical, reasonable, and achievable. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Here's a comedy to look forward to starring a rock star duo of Bill Murray and Kristen Wiig. The 2 Saturday Night Live alums will headline the cast of Epiphany, which will be directed by Max Barbakow, who also directed Palm Springs. The plot sees Kristen Wiig as an heiress who has blown through her fortune and now has 2 weeks to marry a rich man or lose everything and end up homeless. She meets Murray's character, who is a math savant and billionaire. Really hoping there's no sex between the 2 leads in this film. As of February 14th, YouTube will be 20 years old. The social media platform, which started with people posting home movies and personal videos, has turned into a global phenomenon and a major studio that even makes feature films in 4K. According to Deadline, YouTube just reached another milestone. More people now use the TVs in their home when watching YouTube content than they do on their phones. Go figure. For more showbiz fun, tune into Night Lite with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. A winter weather advisory continues for an additional 1 to 3 inches of snow, otherwise cloudy tonight and a low near 10. Then a clearing sky for tomorrow, high into the upper teens. Then snow chances return on Friday, accumulations likely again. Currently it's 17 degrees.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Marquette University professor and pollster extraordinaire Charles Franklin.
Deporting immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. 60% support that, but when we ask the same question and just add at the end, including those with jobs and no criminal record, then support drops to just 43%.
Wisconsinites have a sense of fairness.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2 till 4 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Carmelo Anthony for the Bail Project.
Bad news, you've been arrested. Good news, you're innocent until proven guilty. If you can pay your bail, good news, you go home to wait your trial. If you can't, sorry, you go to jail to wait. But sure, you still presumed innocent. But since you can't afford bail, you've lost your freedom. That's not right. And that's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Maggie Dawn.
Tariffs, inflation, and shutdowns, oh my.
Just a dance party with 2 of my favorites, Sound Anomaly.
An online dance party.
Online dance party
That's all we
in
can
our
do.
own places. Yeah.
An online dance party, 7,000 apart.
Yes, exactly.
So, all right. So 7,000 apart is here with me tonight on Night Light. Great to have these guys back. John and Amelie, they are in Sweden right now. They'll be back in a month. And then how long will you stay when you guys are back?
So this time just for a month, but then we're
Okay.
going to be back all the summer.
Oh,
Playing
fantastic.
all of the shows. Yeah.
I can
3
almost
months of
hear you
summer.
guys already on the Fox River here playing over at Hagermeister or some venue like that. So,
Yes.
are there any other musical duos that you know of who are based in Sweden and Green Bay, or even Sweden and America right now?
There's one other duo called Flora Cash that we found when we were just starting out because we were like, is this like a thing? Has anyone else done this
Yeah.
before? And so he's from Minnesota and she's
Okay.
from Sweden. But I don't know if they ever go back to the US too
I
much.
know
They had a
yeah.
kid a few years ago and
Okay.
settled in like in the countryside in Sweden. So I think they're
Wow.
pretty just happy
But
there.
they've been doing really well.
Yeah, they're releasing a bunch of music. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, speaking of new music, you guys have a new song. We just mentioned it earlier, Soul and Soma's Scars. This is off your third album, which we'll talk about also in just a minute. But let's hear the song. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay,
Hope
here's
you like it.
Yeah, here's the new song by 7,000 Apart, Soul and Soma's Scars.
Never thought I'd get this far with my soul and so much scars. Life's not how I thought it would be. The fairy tales I've seen, my faded childhood dreams. Might not ever get my break, not sure that I have got what it takes. I made my share of mistakes. I'm fine being alive. Glad I got to survive. Never thought I'd get this far with my soul and so much scars. I made peace with inside walls, broken glass around my on the other side of ravines, the days can normally seem uniquely ordinary. Highlights, they involve the sunlight, smell of coffee invites time alone with them. Glad I get to survive. Never thought I'd get this far with my soul and so much scars. I made peace with inside walls, broken glass around my The echo time is inaudible, ignoring and fading is my highest fear. Millions of roads to impossible, and thousands of different lifetimes that got me here. Never thought I'd get this far with my soul and so much scars. I made peace with inside walls, broken glass around my heart.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Love that song.
Thanks.
We do too.
Tell us about it. Where does that come from? Where did the inspiration come from, and what's
Yeah.
going on there in the narrative?
Yeah, so we wrote an album called Feel Your Feelings. That was our previous album, and this was after we had written all of that, and we were in a session here in Sweden. We did a songwriting camp with a publisher, and we were teamed up with this producer. It was the last day of the camp. We had written for others all week, but this last day we got to write for us, and this is the song that came out. It's about going through something really, really difficult after that, like after you've gone through something really hard and you're starting to see like the light again, and you're starting to appreciate the little things again, like a good cup of coffee and the sunlight, and you might be changed a little bit from like the tough experience, whatever that may be, but you have so much gratefulness for just being alive.
And
Wow.
for the record, soma means body.
Yes, not everyone knows that. Like soma is
Okay.
just
Yeah.
a synonym for body. So
We didn't
it's,
know that either, but
when we were writing it,
Yeah.
I was looking for synonyms for body, and
Oh, wow.
I got,
Okay.
yeah, so it made sense.
Yeah, I thought it was like a
Yeah.
girl's name or something with
Yeah, no.
pretty name.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It's a pretty name.
So, well, that's great. So tell us more about the third album too. When will that be out? How much more work do you have to do on it? And is there some type of theme
Yeah.
to it that this song falls into?
Yeah, so it's actually there's a few questions there. Long story short, I guess the album is going to be coming out by the summer. So
In a physical
form.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be releasing songs monthly on Spotify and streaming services.
Yeah.
For the
Nice.
next year, basically. So people will be able to get the album physically this summer and like get it online, but like order the physical album, but they'll have to wait a year to be able to hear like online completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the album called?
Yeah. So the album is going to be called Why Do We Do What We Do, which I know it's kind of it's a long title, but it's from one of our songs that we wrote last year, and it's a song about, as artists, we give a lot of ourselves to do what we love. It's not, the world isn't set up so that everyone can be artists, and
Right.
it can be very hard, and we pour so much of not just hard work, but so much of our souls and our emotions and everything into this thing that we're making, and it's not always that we get appreciation for that, or there's a lot of the hard work that goes unseen. And so this song is about that, and it made us bring out the question, why do we do what we do? And because we're getting a little bit older, and it's not an obvious choice of a career. It's not the safest, it's not the easiest, and so it's so important to know why you do what you do, especially when you're in a creative field.
But
Because
in
if you're
general in
yeah, but in
life.
general in life,
Yeah.
like if you're
Right.
not anchored into why you make the choices that you make, it just makes things easier if you really know why you do what you do. Yeah.
Very well said. No, and that's a great answer. And somehow you guys are making it work by continent. Like, I don't know how you
Don't
do
ask
that.
us
but
how. We don't either. We're just hoping the money on the bank doesn't run out. That's
you
all
just
we.
find a way, right? I mean, and you just make it work.
Yes.
Do you ever hear comparisons to the Sundays? Do you know that band from the 90s?
No, but I'll write it. John is writing it down.
They have a song called Where the Story Ends, and the summertime, they had some really nice hits. You have Amelie, you have a voice that reminds me a little bit of Harriet Wheeler, kind of that.
Oh, I love that.
You have like a sultry side of your voice as well, but it's also, there's a lot of emotion in it. Yeah, check them out. I'd be interested to know what you
I
think
will.
about that.
Yeah, we get the cranberries sometimes.
Oh, I could see that too. I love
yeah.
the cranberries. Yeah.
we love the cranberries.
That was
too.
a huge loss when Dolores.
I know.
It's just awful. So your second album was produced in Nashville. That's kind of a big deal. You worked with a big time producer. What's the story behind the third album? Is it a similar story, or are you guys more self-producing? How's it working out so far?
Yeah. So that's what we realized with Soul and Soma Scars. It turned out to be like, we felt like the best quality produced song that we've ever put out. And the craziest part of it is the whole song was written and produced in a total of 8 hours.
In the studio.
In this studio.
Really?
So we literally sat here with no ideas to a finished song in 8 hours, including eating lunch and going for a walk. And I think that there was something about that process that changed how we looked at making music. It ended up being like, if we can make something that we absolutely love in 8 hours, with a producer, and like we saw the whole process, like literally his computer was right here, and I was watching him do what he was doing, and I was just like, for those of you who don't no, I guess I went to audio production school for recording music and stuff, but I always felt like, you know, we need to hire someone who like has won a Grammy or done something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And then this summer, people were like talking about some of their favorite songs that we've released, and they're songs that I actually had produced.
No kidding.
And they
And
weren't.
you also did
Yeah.
produce most of side B. Like you did like 70% of Feel Your Feelings side B.
Yeah.
And then our amazing producer Femke did the rest. But like John, like he's done a lot of awesome things. It was just like that last little like 10-20% that you were missing.
And yeah, so we kind of realized we're like, let's just produce it ourselves. We can make it faster. We can put more of ourselves into the music. We don't have to wait months to get a reply. It can just be like, you know,
Right.
hey, can
We
you
don't have
change
to, yeah, we
these
don't,
3 things? Or
yeah, we
whatever,
don't
you
have
know?
to wait for someone else's schedule. We can just do it. And so John has been in like proper like production school, I would say, but like online. So he's been
Okay.
like watching all of the YouTube videos, all of the tips and tricks, getting all of the computer programs and plugins that he needs. And he's doing an incredible job. And so in a month, you get to hear the next song that
Wow.
that he has produced. Yeah.
And we
It's so
have
exciting.
like 26 songs that
Yeah.
we're choosing from. So
Oh, no
it's
kidding.
really cool.
Getting it down to 8?
12 is
12?
the goal.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's a little easier.
But still so many babies that are not going to make the cut this time.
Well, that's why you make a 4th album, right? You can save some of them. John
If
and
we're lucky
Amelie
enough.
from
Yeah.
7,000 Apart are my guests right now here on Nightlight. They're in Sweden at the moment. We'll be back in Green Bay in a month. We'll have them certainly on the show then when they can come in person too. But this is working out just fine, you guys. Do you write music or lyrics first when you compose a song, or is there a rule to it, or just how it works out in that moment?
I would say it's very different. Like sometimes John will just come up with some chords and or like make a track, and then I will just improvise some melody on top of it.
Okay.
Sometimes we start with like an idea of like, oh, this would be a cool title, or ooh, this phrase is really cool, and we build some lyrics from that, and then I start like improvising a melody over that. It's
We've
I don't know.
done, I think
Sometimes
we've
John,
done a lot of
yeah,
different things. Like, I mean, the biggest thing is we tend to work together, like with the process. So if I start something, Amelie's gonna be super involved in it. If we start something together, like it's, you know, it's very much a collaborative process. And I think that that's something that like is incredibly nice with being in a duo. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Paul and John from the Beatles, like they also had the ability to like, you know, share ideas right away and get instant feedback, and they didn't always agree. And I
that's a
think
good thing.
that's a
Yeah,
good thing because it
right,
makes
right.
something interesting, you know?
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
complement each other really well. Like John is phenomenal at both guitar and piano, and is great at coming up with different like little hooks and really good
And Amelie
chords.
does vocals
Yeah.
and melodies and
Yeah.
stuff. And
I
she's
love
very
it.
picky.
It's
Yeah.
well, it's working for you guys. We'll have just a couple more minutes with 7,000 Apart. We'll hear one more song from them, and then I want to ask you guys about a cause that you've embraced from your own personal experiences too. We'll do that, and then we'll wrap things up after a very short break here on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me.
Settlement 97.9 WGBW.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Believe it or not, it is once again time for Wisconsinites to head to the polls and vote. I know, we all have a bit of election fatigue after 2024, but the spring election primary is coming up on Tuesday, February 18th. One race that will be on every ballot statewide for the spring primary is for state superintendent. Incumbent Jill Underly is seeking another term, and 2 candidates are challenging her. Jeff Wright, superintendent for Sauk Prairie Schools, and Brittany Kinzer, an education consultant and former charter school executive. Kinzer's candidacy, in particular, is gaining steam. Her campaign reported raising more than $500,000, far more than what Underly or Wright have brought in. With that type of financial support, this could prove to be a more competitive race for state superintendent than what we've seen in quite some time. This is becoming a real race to watch.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area and on our website at civicmedia.us.
Hey there, it's Carrie Joy with your Work Money Minute. Today, I'm going to connect the idea of imagining yourself being good at money with my favorite academic research paper ever, which is about shooting free throws. Basketball. Stay with me. The study had one group of players practice their free throws every day for an extra 2 hours, and then another group of players imagining themselves practicing free throws for the same amount of time every day. The researchers called this simulated mental practice. The research showed that the mental practice, without any actual physical execution, improved their free throw shooting more than just going through the motions. I'm not saying that imagining yourself good with money will suddenly make you a gazillionaire, or imagining that free throw shooting is going to make you Damian Lillard, but both can help. For more practical money tips, visit workmoney.org. Till
Welcome back. Got a few more minutes here with our friends John and Amelie from 7,000 Apart, high school sweethearts who are making it work no matter what continent they are on. And they happen to be in Sweden tonight, and they're joining us over the stream. Let's get this other song played so that we don't run out of time. I love this song. I think you've played it in the studio before, if I'm not mistaken. But this is another song from 7,000 Apart. We just heard their newest song, Soul in Sama's Scars. This song is called Started a Fire, and then we'll be back to wrap things up with John and Amelie.
I'm tired of being second best. I'm sick of the feeling when they choose someone else. I'm tired of knocking at this door that everyone's been at before. I started a fire, I'm gonna let it burn. I lit up a match, 'cause this is our turn. You've been living us out for too long. You'll never let us in, so we'll just burn it all to the ground.
great. I love that song. It's
Oh, it's
fun
so
too
fun.
watching you, Amelie. When you're here, you're bouncing out of your chair, and I love that you're doing it all the way overseas like that too. It's just great that you feel your own music. And that song, when you guys have done it in the past in the studio, I never heard that electric before, because I think, John, you typically have like an acoustic with you. That sounded fantastic. I've never heard that version before.
Yeah, so
Great.
it's actually a good friend of ours who played in a really, really big band called Sabaton, which is a metal band from Sweden. And he was one of their lead guitarists. And we just asked him, and he did this solo for us, which is
So great.
insane.
They
So cool.
co-headlined with Judas Priest.
Yeah, that's
Whoa.
like at the level they're
Yeah.
at.
Oh, no
They're
kidding.
yeah.
How
So that he
fun.
said yes was absolutely
Yeah, it's
incredible,
crazy.
and it's such a fun
And
feature.
he's
yeah.
awesome in
Oh,
general.
he's such a sweetheart. Yeah.
You
His
guys,
name
we
is
just
Tommy.
have about a minute left, unfortunately. But can you tell us just quickly a little bit about how you incorporate how important mental health is to you into your music? And I know that's a kind of a mission of yours, and we just have about 60 seconds. But if you could give us a
Yeah.
rundown.
Absolutely. Yeah. Soul Soma Scars, the song that we released today, is a testament to that too. It's something that we both have struggled with, and it's something
Mental health, yeah.
yeah, mental
Yeah.
health is. And it's so important to break that stigma, I think. It's so easy to go to the doctor for a broken leg, but it's a lot harder when you're feeling depressed or you're struggling with anxiety or panic attacks. We're not as likely to go to the doctor for that. And I think
Right.
it's so important to talk to your friends and family and your doctor about how you're feeling mentally and not just physically. And so by sharing our own stories, we're hoping that we can inspire others to care about their mental health as much as they care for their physical.
And what better way to do that through the music you guys give us? It's so great. Thank you so much for your time again, as always. Please let us know when you're
Thank you for
back,
having
and
me.
we'll
Thank you.
have you
Yeah.
in, and we'll have some more fun. We'll have an in-person dance party as opposed to over
Yes.
the stream here.
Absolutely.
All right. Good luck with the
I'm
rest of the
excited.
trip, you guys. We'll talk to you
Thank you
soon.
so
Thank you.
much. Yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right, that's John and Amelie from 7,000 Apart. Tomorrow night on the show, John McGivern is here to make the popcorn pick of the week. He is the host of Main Streets and a public television legend. John will be here tomorrow night at 6:35, and then we welcome Nick Wattier will be here in studio from the Green Bay Film Festival talking about a giant spider invasion event they have coming up right down the street here very soon. That will be more fun on Nightlight tomorrow. Thank you so much for being with me tonight, everybody. Thanks to Glenn Morshower, 7,000 Apart, all your texts and calls on behalf of the lovable producer. Boy, really buried that.
You messed that one up.
I don't think people know what I said. They need to know you're the lovable producer, Conrad. I can't
Yes.
spit that out. All right. We'll be back to do it all tomorrow night. Thanks so much, folks. Good night, Wisconsin.
Oh, take me to your best friend's house. Marmalade, we're making out. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.